This is the 10.5-inch iPad Pro, Apple's flagship tablet from 2017. I bought this tablet in February of this year for about $150 and I've been using it as my daily rhythm game tablet ever since. As for why I'm using a nearly 10-year-old iPad to play rhythm games, I think you'd be very surprised with how well it still performs today. In terms of specs, this iPad Pro houses the Apple A10X Fusion SoC with 4GB of RAM. The display has a resolution of 2224 by 1668 running at 120Hz, making it the first Apple device ever with fast refresh technology. The iPad could also be configured from 64GB of storage all the way up to 512GB, which is the configuration I have here. Looking around this tablet, you will also see some features you might not find on newer devices. At the front, you have a home button with Touch ID, which I still find incredibly useful for quickly unlocking the iPad. And at the top of the iPad, you'll find a headphone jack, which is convenient if I ever need to charge my iPad and use earbuds at the same time. In terms of software, this iPad released with iOS 10.3.2 and was recently updated to iPadOS 17.7.11. All the testing in this video is done on this latest version. With the specs out of the way, let's try some rhythm games. Since Project SEKAI is my main rhythm game, most of my testing results will be based on this game, but do note that the results can be applicable to other rhythm games as well, which I will be testing shortly. But anyway, back to Project SEKAI. At the standard frame rate option, this iPad is able to handle the game pretty comfortably. There are rarely any dropped frames, and if I'm being completely honest, this feels just like my 2022 M2 iPad Pro. It's not every day that a 10-year-old tablet can perform modern tasks in any meaningful way, so the fact that this iPad runs as smooth as it does is honestly very impressive. The touch input latency is not that significant either, and the iPad was able to keep a consistent touch input performance regardless of how many fingers I put on the screen. To further test its limits, I even used this tablet for a Project SEKAI game show, which I hosted back in April, and it ran perfectly fine alongside my 2022 M2 iPad Pro. Touch input did not drop, and the game never crashed a single time throughout the run. Definitely check out my game show video if you haven't already. I'm sure you'll enjoy it as much as I did. Anyway, back to the video. Surprisingly, at the high frame rate option, this iPad is also able to handle it with relatively smooth gameplay. I would just be a little cautious about running it at such a high frame rate because it did heat up the iPad and cause the battery to drain faster. Touch issues are also more likely to occur when the device is hotter, so do keep that in mind. It's also not to say that this device is perfect if you want the best rhythm game experience. For example, this iPad would struggle significantly when playing with 3D MVs on. The extreme frame drops cause the gameplay experience to be very uncomfortable. I would not recommend playing with 3D MVs under any circumstance. If you are also someone who is interested in the My SEKAI game mode, this game mode is playable for the most part assuming you are on the lowest settings, though going against trees will drop your frame rate a decent amount. Some maps and assets will also take a long time to load. That said, it is technically playable, but you will definitely have to temper your expectations. In short, if you're looking for a budget iPad to play Project SEKAI, this device is still plenty usable, but you will have to make some adjustments, such as playing with 3D MVs off, turning off gameplay effects, and playing on the lowest settings. What about some other rhythm games? Well, the next game I tried was Bang Dream, and this game also provided a pretty similar experience to Project SEKAI. Basically, if you play in light or normal mode, the gameplay experience will be fine for the most part. 120 FPS gameplay was possible as well. There were some minor lag spikes here and there, but the experience stays mostly consistent throughout my time playing. Similar to Project SEKAI, the game becomes unplayable with 3D MVs, so as long as you don't have that on, this iPad will still provide a playable experience for Bang Dream. Another game I tried was AstroDX. This game would lag a bit when you start playing for the first couple of minutes, but I found that after a while the lag would go away and the experience after that was decently smooth. To get the best experience, I turned the graphics setting from quality to high performance. If you have this iPad, I would recommend you to do the same and see what other options you can turn off to improve the game's performance. The last game I tried was Phigros, and unsurprisingly, this game ran pretty smoothly. I didn't really encounter any frame drops, and the experience stayed very consistent throughout. That's about all the games I have time for in this video, though if you would like me to try some other rhythm games on this tablet, definitely let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, do be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I want to make more rhythm game device reviews like this one, so your support goes a long way in allowing me to create this kind of content. Anyway, let's continue on to the rest of the video. So through all this gameplay, it is safe to say that this iPad Pro is still a pretty great device for rhythm games, but does that mean you should run out and buy one? Well, it honestly depends. There are a couple things you have to consider before buying a 2017 iPad Pro. First of all, this iPad is stuck on iPadOS 17, meaning there will no longer be any major OS updates for this iPad. Though honestly speaking, given all the issues I've talked about with newer versions of iPadOS, it might even be a good thing. iPadOS 17 is honestly perfect for rhythm games, with it not having the touchscreen and guided access issues introduced in iPadOS 26, but it's worth considering that apps will start losing support for iPadOS 17 sooner rather than later. Surprisingly, a lot of rhythm games still support iPadOS 17. For example, the global version of Project SEKAI is supported all the way back to iPadOS 14, and the new Hololive Dreams rhythm game that just released has its minimum version back to iPadOS 16. But it is only a matter of time before the minimum requirements become iPadOS 17 or 18. The second thing you must consider is that the only way to get this iPad is through used marketplaces, as new 2017 iPad Pros are basically non-existent at this point. In the United States, you may be able to find one on eBay in usable condition for $100 but this price tag usually comes with the fact that the battery is probably in relatively poor condition, among other visible wear and tear such as scratches and especially bruises to the display, which are very common on the 2017 iPad Pro due to a manufacturing flaw. When I first bought this iPad, the battery health was below 80%, and the iPad would shut itself down before reaching 0%. The battery had degraded to a point where the touchscreen would stop registering my taps occasionally, making rhythm games quite difficult to play without having the iPad plugged into a charger all the time. Because of this issue, I actually sent the iPad into Apple for a replacement battery, and Apple generously swapped me a brand new 2017 iPad Pro for the price of a battery replacement. But all in all, this iPad ended up being almost twice as expensive as what I originally paid for it, and you might end up having to do the same if you need a fresh battery. The last thing to consider is the fact that this iPad performs considerably worse than even the slowest modern iPad in Apple's lineup. When comparing benchmark scores between the 2017 iPad Pro and the latest 11th gen iPad, you can see that there is simply no competition when it comes to performance. So if you're not looking to play only rhythm games, I honestly think there should be no reason to buy this iPad. But if you need an ultra cheap iPad to play rhythm games and are willing to accept its compromises, I think this might be the one to get. I would even take this iPad over the 2018 iPad Pro, because that iPad is stuck on iPadOS 26, and knowing all the issues I've had with that version of iPadOS, I wouldn't want to use that model over this one under any circumstance. The 2017 iPad Pro might be my favorite iPad Apple has ever made, and I intend to use it for as long as it stays relevant for rhythm games. Anyway, that's been it for me. If you enjoyed this video and learned something today, do leave a like and subscribe. Are you surprised with how well this iPad still performs today? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time.